Let's talk about the Sony Fx5. And by the way, this is the FX3. I didn't receive the FX5, but I managed to watch a lot of review and I want to share my thoughts about the camera, what I think about it, whether I'm going to buy it or not. So to start things off, I have a lot of experience with the Sony FX3, FX6, and the whole Sony ecosystem. I shot films with the Sony Venice, Sony Burano, and I used the Sony FX3 on a lot of big projects. So I'm very familiar with the Sony ecosystem, color grading the Sony cameras, and overall everything that means Sony. Now, a couple of months ago, I switched my full camera system to Nikon ZR. So that is the camera that I'm using right now. And the reason I switched from Sony to Nikon ZR was mostly because I wanted to color grade better and I wanted a codec that is more powerful than what the FX3 gives you. Meaning with the Nikon ZR, I get red RAW. But that was not all. I wanted something a little bit much better whenever I was shooting super fast. Now with the Sony, the really small screen on the back was very hard to view, especially because I'm turning 34 now. I was kind of struggling watching this small little screen, and that is the reason I went with the Nikon ZR, because as you can see, the screen is massive and it's way easier to look at it. The quality is amazing and so on. And overall, I wanted to change a little bit and see how other cameras feel. Now, down the road, I fell in love with this camera, but we'll get to that a little bit later because now we're talking about the FX5, which is the FX3 in my hand. So on paper, I feel like the FX5 checks all of the boxes I wanted from my FX3 to have. Like, it has higher resolution, it has more frame rates, it has a better dual noise performance, meaning 800, 4000, and 12800, which is really impressive. It has a bigger screen and it has, on paper, a lot of the things. Again, I didn't touch the camera, I didn't have it, I didn't test it, but overall, from what I see on the reviews, it seems like an amazing camera. And of course, the first thing that I wanted to do was place that pre-order for the camera because I was super excited. Now, I waited a little bit and I was like, dude, do I really need that camera? Because I already have the Nikon ZR, I have RAW, I can use the Nikon ZR with my Sony lenses. So I wasn't like in a rush to change my camera. But then a few of more like true reviewers came up and said a few of the things that I found very annoying about the camera. Like, first thing was, even though the screen is bigger, I think OMG Adrian posted that, even though the screen is bigger, when you look at the image that you see on the screen, it's still very similar on what you get on this screen, because what Sony did, basically, they moved the menu overlay further to the edges in order to have a better viewing on the menu, but they left the image smaller in the center, which means you're basically getting the same viewing experience as the Sony FX3, which is kind of weird. The second thing, I think, was the fact that whenever you change frame rate options, the camera has to boot up and reboot and all that stuff, which I think it's, again, pretty annoying. Like with the ZR or with the FX3, you didn't get that. Again, I think it has to do with the desired frame rate option you film in. So for example, if you film at 60 frames per second, then the camera boots up if you want to go into 25. But if you film in 25 and have the slow motion from 60 to 25, then I don't think it's gonna boot up. But again, with the Nikon, that doesn't happen. With the Blackmagic again, with the Ronin 4D again. So it is kind of annoying, especially because it's a camera for run and gun. You need to move fast, you need to make settings fast. It's not something that doesn't make me buy the camera, but it is something that it's pretty annoying. And the third thing was, when they launched this camera, they said it has 4K 200 frames per second, which I thought it's amazing. And by the way, you don't really need that, because if you crank up your shutter speed and you film at 4K 120, you can easily do 4K 240 with all of the AI softwares we have now. It's very easy to do slow motion like that. But again, it's nice to have 240, because from 240 it's easy to jump to 500 and so on. But that is not available at the time you buy the camera. It's only going to be available in a future firmware update like 1 year later, which I don't want that. I want what you guys advertised. Like, I want the camera as you mentioned it is. Like, I don't know. For me, it's like, it's something like you buy a car, it says you get 600 horsepower, but you can only get that next year. Doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense for a camera as well. So for me, that is really weird. And for some people, might be engaging because they say, I'm gonna buy the camera and I'm gonna be excited in 1 year because the camera is gonna be better and better and better. But don't advertise the camera like that. Like, in my opinion, I think that's not fair. And another thing that a lot of people hyped up was the open gate stuff. And before I shot open gate on any camera or anything like that, I thought it's really useful for stuff like this. Whenever you talk to the camera, you film open gate, and it's easier for you to crop for vertical and so on. And what I realized is that if you're not using at least a 6K or an 8K camera with open gate, when you crop down from an open gate to vertical, you're still not getting true 4K. Like, in 5K open gate, you're still not getting a true 4K image. So you're better off flipping the camera and shooting in a 16:9 aspect ratio in 5K, which, again, it's a really nice marketing stuff, but if you know the stuff, if you use the cameras a lot, you're gonna know that open gate is only useful when you're gonna shoot anamorphic. That's probably the singlest thing about open gate that you're gonna use. If you're using for social media and vertical and all that stuff, you're gonna realize that you still want the best quality possible, so why not flipping the camera? Now, there is another thing. If you like anamorphic, if you film anamorphic, then you're not gonna have autofocus on anamorphic, which is weird, and I think it's the same thing with this camera as well. And again, a bunch of different kind of stuff. The stabilization doesn't work in anamorphic, the stabilization doesn't work in different kind of modes. So overall, what I think about this camera, it's not a rant, it's just my personal opinion. I think it was rushed. I think Sony rushed this camera to launch it because they noticed there is no more interest in Sony products, because there are other like really good products on the market, way cheaper than Sony, like the Nikon ZR, like Blackmagic, like Canon, like Panasonic, which make incredible cameras for a fraction of the cost. Again, probably the only thing that keeps me kind of glued to the Sony ecosystem is the autofocus, because the autofocus is insane. But on the ZR, you still get incredible autofocus. Like, I film bike shots, bike scenes with 135mm at f1.8 with the Nikon ZR, and the focus is spot on. With Sony, whenever I filmed those stuff, the focus wasn't spot on. So again, it is pretty crazy. I don't want to rant on Sony because I worked with them a lot of years. I'm very happy with the Sony products. I think they're very reliable. But I think the Sony Fx5, it is a camera that has been rushed. That's my personal opinion. I'm getting heated up, man. I'm getting heated up. And the thing is, what I want to say is the fact that it was rushed up probably makes me believe that Sony knows something. Like, for example, I think the Nikon ZR was the first product in collaboration with Nikon and Red, and it was the first thing of its kind. And I think they know something that either Panasonic, either DJI, either Blackmagic is gonna come up with a camera this year that's gonna blow up the industry. So I think maybe that's why they rushed it. Again, I still want to get one. I still want to see how it is. Still want to test it out for you guys. I'm gonna buy one with my own money and test it out. But if you already have the FX3, A7S3, getting the FX5 will not make your images way much better. The difference in resolution and in the settings that it has, the only difference is the raw codec. They'll definitely give you much better colors, but you're still getting Sony colors, if you know what I mean. You're still getting the same look that you get with Sony, which is, again, very flexible. You can make incredible images with Sony cameras, but if you want something different, something to, I don't know, spike your curiosity, try to change the system. Even though you might say, oh, but all my lenses are Sony. On the ZR, you can use a Sony adapter, you can use your Sony lenses and so on. I'm not making a commercial for the Nikon ZR, I'm just making a point. If you want to change something up, maybe you can change the camera brand or the lenses. Just buy some creative lenses for your camera. Don't rush into getting a new body that just promises stuff and it will not make you really better. The images will still look Sony. Like, whenever I tested the Sony Burano and I filmed with it, people said, oh, it looks like a Sony FX3. Yeah, because Sony implements their colors to look the same across the board, like FX3, FX30, FX6, FX5 now, and even Venice, even they all meant to look the same because that's what Sony wants to do. So if you get the Venice, you're still gonna get Sony image. I hope it makes sense. It is really warm inside this room, but one thing that I want to say is I want to thank our sponsor for this video, which is Artlist.io. This is the platform that I use for my music, stock footage, even sound effects. Whenever I need something really fast, I go on Artlist, but recently also AI, and they implemented some really crazy stuff. And now I got to play a little bit with Gemini Omni Flash on Artlist, which is absolutely insane. It's like Photoshop, but for video editing. So basically you can change your shirt, you can change the environment, you can change anything you have in mind on a video, which is absolutely insane. Like, the level of how this went is super crazy. Now, I know a lot of you guys kind of hate a little bit on AI, and there are a lot of people against it, but if you use real footage with AI, and whenever you have to take, like, I don't know, change your shirt, change your cap, or do stuff like this, I think it's extremely valuable. I think it's extremely useful. Like, I don't know how to do this stuff with VFX. They also have another integration with Claude, and I know a lot of filmmakers use Claude for different kind of campaigns or for efficiency or anything like that. So now you can implement Claude with Artlist, which is really great because you can create campaigns way easier. You can automate, basically you can automate your AI creation way faster. And even if you're not using AI, I really still think Artlist is one of the best creator platforms on the market because you have everything you need in one place. You basically need to be creative. So these were my thoughts on the Sony FX5. I didn't want to hate on the camera. I hope it didn't seem that way, but I wanted to kind of give you my perspective on it. Like, I feel like the camera quality has peaked a few years ago, and whatever new cameras we have now are just small improvements to the already really good stuff that we have. Like the FX3, it's an amazing camera. The Nikon ZR is an amazing camera. The Blackmagic, even the Zcam E2F6, which I talked about a few videos ago, that camera was released, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. It has 6K open gate, it has dual base ISO, it has internal NDs, guys. I think camera quality has peaked, and so anyway, hope you guys love this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you like my thoughts on the Sony FX5. And yeah, until next one, I'm Alexander Don, and thanks a lot for watching. Peace.